Mackenzie,
Lemar.
we are covering a film today that has some incredible costume work, Oscar-winning Oscar
Ridiculous.
work, even. And I was wondering if you could have any one of the costumes designed here in Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Which one, and you have to pick one, which one of these incredible costume pieces would you want to own?
First of all, rude disclaimer. Okay. Second of all, I had one picked. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Is it only because we have a short time period today? You have to be out of here at like 6 o'clock. So you're like,
no,
I
I was just
okay.
a good kid and like I had one
right.
picked. I went with my vision was like, I want something that I would never actually fucking wear. What's the most absurd costume in my view, or like what made me, jump like in shock or whatever. And it was the emu. Like,
Yeah, on stage. Yeah.
I think I would have to do that one. Try that one on. That would be such a fun Halloween costume. It'd be so ridiculous.
That comes out of nowhere for as
For fucking
weird as
out
some of the
of
outfits
nowhere.
are. That is just like that threw me for sure. I think personally, I would either the chandelier. Well, let's see. I'm going to pick one. I would say the big
you're the
silver
problem
number.
now.
Yeah. I will honorable mention to the chandelier. Honestly.
Cheater.
The green plaid overalls that he's painting in, pretty fucking cool outfit. Like,
I love that he's just like
aside.
prepared for to paint a bus.
These are my
like,
working clothes.
You already have paint, you already have paint there, and then you have your work clothes, but they're still cute. Like the fuck, I don't even. Yeah. There's not that much room in that bus.
Yeah, it's like a magical Santa's sack of drag outfits, and just very nice outfits. But I would say the silver one on top of the bus, where it's just this flowing. I mean, you would have to be standing in front of a fan all day to make it make sense, but it's just incredible. That visual is really cool. Yeah.
It's such a beautiful, incredible, iconic shot, truly.
I'm going to get a mini one of those as a hood ornament, I think. Smaller so it doesn't block my view, but just that Guy Pearce with like that long, like 12 inches worth of a
It's a very Rolls Royce kind of emblem, really. You're just making it a little bit longer. I like it. I like it. All right, well, I'll allow it since I always pick more than one, so you can have a couple of submissions, I guess, this time. All right, let's roll. Welcome back to We Drink and We Watch Things. I'm Mackenzie.
I'm Lemar.
And we are in our final stretch for Pride Month. Very exciting. This is our T entry. We are covering The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. What a name.
Yeah.
What a name. I love it.
And it works on so many different levels.
It does. It absolutely does.
The whole movie takes place in it. It's great.
It's so great. It's so great. Okay, what are we drinking to get us through this just gem of a film, this flamboyant piece of fiction?
Yeah, so when I make recipes, I'm going to give partial credit on Reddit, that rhymes, to Lab Own 9800. They were the original maker of it, and I kind of riffed off of their recipe. So it's not exactly the same, but credit where it is due. So this is 2 ounces of gin, half an ounce of Saint Germain, 3/4 ounces of lime juice, half an ounce of lavender syrup, and then you're also going to need 3 fresh blueberries because you're going to muddle them first, and then put everything else into the shaker with ice, and you're going to want to double strain it because otherwise you're going to get like blueberry chunks in your drink. And then garnish that with fresh cut lavender because we're calling this, it's not purple, it's lavender.
Oh, so cute. Okay. Cheers.
Yours came out more red than mine. Cheers.
I put pink glitter in mine, to be fair.
Classy.
Okay, but yes, I also have. I'm glad that you named it that because I take umbrage with the color of the bus. But
it's like straight up pink, right?
It's straight up fucking pink, and they're like, it's lavender. I'm like, you guys, like, also the director is a man, so I'm like, you're colorblind. You're just colorblind. I don't understand. Anyway, it's fine. Okay, some quick basics, and then we are gonna get to the fun stuff, which is just my takeaway from this whole film. It's just so fun. It's again, The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, 1994. I think we have to harp on the 1994 of it all. Incredible that this came out in 1994. We will get there. 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb, 94% from critics, 88% from audiences. Holy shit. So good. Like such high ratings. I love it. Then our director and writer here is Stephan Elliott. You will know him from things like Easy Virtue, which is like should be a Hallmark movie but wasn't. And then Eye of the Beholder, which with Ashley Judd, where she's like a serial killer. It was a whole thing, and Ewan McGregor follows her around and like documents her serial killeriness. I don't know.
It was not to spend too much time on this, but your first statement about it should have been a Hallmark movie. Are you saying that it is a movie that qualifies to be on Hallmark, or that it's bad because it should have been a Hallmark movie? Are you saying it's a good thing or a bad thing?
Easy Virtue is just such a saccharine Hallmark kind of movie, and it's such a plot that would be on a Hallmark movie. Okay. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it is like a fancier, it's got a bigger budget, but is a Hallmark movie. You know what I mean?
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Happy to help. Okay, quick cast and crew rundown. We have Mr. Hugo Weaving as Tick/Mitzi. Also, I love that their regular names / their drag names they're all weird and unique, and it's hilarious to me because I kept going back and forth. I was like, wait, which one is this? But he is like, you've never seen him before because you know him from Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, V for Vendetta, all those kinds of things. He is least well known for Dada is Death, which I did look up and is a very hardcore, it like went straight to TV kind of movie, but it's like based on a true story of somebody who was imprisoned in Malaysia and was like going to be sentenced to death. And the Australian and the American governments had to get involved, and it's crazy. And the funniest thing about it to me is that Hugo Weaving is just screaming on the cover of the movie. So I don't know. I'm now deeply curious.
He hates Malaysia, I guess.
He just really deeply unhappy. And then Terrence Stamp. Oh my God. His turn in this is incredible as Bernadette. You know him as like superhero movie vibes. He's Zod and Superman 1 and 2. Yeah, Kneel Before Zod. This is this guy. I also really love him in The Adjustment Bureau, so I had to point that one out. He's least known for Who-Man, as in human, but hyphenated.
Okay. Isn't there a woman in this? Like the stuff, the makeup? Close.
No, like HU/MAN. It's very, anyway, it was a choice.
Apparently, those of you who are lactose intolerant or gluten intolerant owe Terrence Stamp a little bit, because he's been both of those things since the 60s. And in the 1994, way ahead of its time, started making like food specifically for those folks. And like even has a cookbook and all that. So ahead of the whole gluten allergy thing by a couple decades.
Wow, what a trailblazer. Okay, and then we also have Guy Pearce. Oh my God, so good. First of all, I just love him in general, but I love him in this as Adam/Felicia. We know him and have talked about him because of Memento. The least known for him is, I wanted to mention this because I thought it was really cool. He plays My Forgotten Man, which is also called Flynn in Australia, where he's playing Errol Flynn, who we've talked about before, historic Hollywood heartthrob, but he was also Australian. So it makes sense that there would be this, Australian autobiography about him. So he plays him. I haven't seen that, but it didn't get great reviews, but it looked interesting.
Did you read his last name in this? You said Felicia, but did you get the last name?
Jolly Goodfellow. Sorry. I apologize. I can't believe I didn't leave it off. I couldn't have. No, that's very important to include because that's the part of the drag name, to be clear, for those who have not seen this yet. Okay, and then finally Bill Hunter. I wanted to mention, of course, he plays such a pivotal role, and we have lots of other supporting characters, but he's the last kind of main. He plays Bob Spart, and we know him from Strictly Ballroom if you've ever seen it, but he also is in Muriel's Wedding, which funnily enough was shooting at the same time and required him to look totally different and be in different parts of the country. There is no explanation that I found how he did it, but he shot them both at the same time.
Well, I have a theory then spinning off of that.
Do it.
Because of I told myself I wasn't going to go down a rabbit hole today during research because we were on a tight window, and I did. I couldn't help myself. Looking at his IMDb, Bill Hunter unfortunately left us in 2011. May he rest in peace. But he was in 6 episodes of a Hugh Jackman show called Faraway Downs in 2023. So, Mackenzie, do we think that Bill Hunter is a time traveler?
Whoa. Yeah. That's got to, you know what it is? He got a time turner a la Hermione Granger, and he's just flipping it back and forth. That's what it is.
So I originally thought the real reason was that the show that Hugh Jackman did was based on an Australian show from like the 60s. So maybe there's footage of him in there, but no, I think after what you said, it makes a lot more sense that he's like a time stopper. Yeah.
100%. 100%. We solved it. You're welcome, guys. You're welcome. He is least known for 27A. And the reason that I picked sharing that one is because he plays a quote, and I quote, metho drinker joining AA. And I have a lot of questions. I really do. But,
Wow.
you know, yeah.
Add it to the list.
Add it to the list. All right. Quick plot summary. Then we'll go into spoiler territory. 2 drag performers and a transgender woman travel across the desert to perform their unique style of cabaret. Love it. Turn around. Don't drown. It's spoiler time. This thing crushed at the box office. Fun fact for the topic at hand. It was a $1.8 million budget. It made almost $30 million. So people were fans. People were fans. And again, this is an Australian film. Not to say Australian film is not mainstream in some cases, but certainly a bit of a dark horse in, you know, in our region of the world sometimes. And you just have these powerhouse performers, and it broke through and it won, like we said, I think in the cold open, best costume design in 1995. And it's to date the only contemporary topic or film to win that award, which is insane.
Yeah, because everything else, if you look at it, is like fantasy or sci-fi. You don't know when it's taken. Period pieces. It's the most modern. So
Musicals.
I think that's like, you know, feather in the cap or crown of every drag queen out there, because that's pretty fucking cool that that's the way that they made modern costume interesting.
Because not for nothing, and not to like digress too hard on drag culture versus this film in particular, but drag queens are some of the most fucking creative and gorgeous people you will ever meet. The things that they put together and the way that they are so innovative with their costumes and just stretching the boundaries of what their performance can be and how not only the costume but the props can complement it. I fucking love drag shows. You always see something incredible, and this is of course no exception. They do crazy things like the flip-flop dress. Like that is maybe single-handedly why she won this award. She also wore what is it, an American Express credit card dress to the Oscar ceremony where she won this Oscar.
Ooh, that's now I'm gonna go look up pictures of that. Flip-flop dress, $7 to make, $7 whole American, I believe, or Australian. I'm not sure.
Which again, if you think look at the budget of this film, very small, 1.8 million. Even in 1998 money, like that's teeny tiny, or 1994 money, it's teeny tiny. And they have this bus. They do these incredible reno on the bus. And then they have this incredible costume collection across the board. Not only them, but then you see other things as well. I mean, so creative, so scrappy. Like it's really perfect for what they do here. I love it.
I wrote down for the first 15 minutes. As a first-time watcher, you tell me if you felt the same. The first 15 minutes didn't grab me. I thought a lot of the humor in the script, granted it's 30 years old, so it might be stuff that's been retread 100 times since then, but I thought the cattiness, I'm going to use the word cattiness, of these 3 characters together, which gets progressively funnier as the film goes on, but at the beginning, for some reason, it was just kind of rubbing me the wrong way. It didn't feel like any of the jokes were really landing for me. I was actually laughing much harder at their laughs. I forget what it was even in regards to, but the 2 drag performers laugh at each other and it's very exaggerated. And then Bernadette fakes tells a joke and fakes the laugh. That to me was the funniest part in the first 15 minutes. But then after that, it really hit its stride for me.
I think it took me a second at first, not necessarily because of that, but because I think for a modern lens, meaning I've seen all these actors do other things first before I saw this, it took an adjustment for me to see these folks that are literally action stars, come into this very different context, which by the way, they crushed, just to be super clear. But I think I had a mental adjustment of Hugo Weaving's character in particular, where he's like kind of unsure. He's doing this incredible, again, flamboyant art form where he has to be just so out there and brave, but you get him behind the curtain and with his friends, and he's a bit more reserved. He's a bit more self-conscious maybe. And I was like, my first note is Hugo Weaving, like not hyper confident is weird. You know, like I was just like, it was a weird energy for me to watch him be even slightly insecure, but he did a great job. It was just an adjustment at first.
It was weird to see Terrence Stamp in the back half of his career and Hugo Weaving before The Matrix, before Lord of the Rings and all that, before we knew him really, at least me personally in America. Did you know that he was one of the final contenders for It in 2017 to play Pennywise? Like Skarsgård got it, but could you like imagine if Hugo Weaving, like he would have crushed it?
I mean,
obviously.
he would have crushed it, but I could see why they didn't go that way. But he would have crushed
you don't want
it.
to
He
hear
can do
his-
anything.
You don't want to hear his voice in the sewer though. Hello, Mr. Georgie.
Now I can't unhear that. You know what I mean? Like, thank you for that moment.
Somebody, okay, I know we hate AI for the most part when it comes to creative things, but somebody please put Agent Smith throughout the entirety of the It movie and into Pennywise's place. I feel like there's gold to mine.
Or
there.
just give us a clip, or just like animator, just make us a little clip, because I know you can do it. That just would be beautiful. I do think you touch on something that's interesting that I don't want to skip over is their like quote unquote combativeness or cattiness with each other. I do not pretend to speak on behalf of the drag community, but I will say from what I have witnessed, it's very on brand.
Yeah,
like it's
I've watched RuPaul's Drag Race, and they're not even friends.
I actually have never. I've
that,
only seen one episode of that. I apologize in advance to our listeners, but I have seen a lot of drag shows in real life. I love them a lot. But I just think that's part of the culture. And I thought they were very funny with each other. And I really liked when, you know, they're debating about going out into the desert together, obviously. And Guy Pearce tells him his dream of going in this dress and heels to the top of this rock in central Australia. And I just love Terrence Stamp or Bernadette's response where he's like, that's just what we need, a cock and a frock on a rock. And it's just this deadpan delivery, and it's just off the cuff, and it's not the wittiest thing he says at all, but it's just ready, and they just talk to each other this way. And I thought it was so cute and so funny. I guess again, coming out of his mouth, it was extra funny.
His delivery nails it. There was a lot of like not laugh out louds from me in the first 20 or 30 minutes, but it was a lot of like like those where you're acknowledging that was pretty funny, but it's not like crack up. But to your point about like drag performers, at the end of the day, you have to remember they're theater kids, and we've been theater kids. Mackenzie.
Fuck yeah,
it's
they're
a
theater
competitive
kids.
environment.
Yes.
So like there's a lot of bitches in theater, male and female, myself
but
included.
You love each
so,
other.
Like, yeah.
It's like you want to beat the shit out of them, but you also love them. Like, I'm going to be better than you. That's what I mean by beat the shit out of them. We want to be better than each other and win the role or whatever, but also you like love each other, and you're this weird little dysfunctional family. And 110%. That absolutely comes through. But the moments that made me laugh, because I totally agree with you, it's not like LOLs, but it's like these chuckles. The things that made me laugh a little bit harder were non-scripted. They were just subtle things. So it was stuff like Bernadette's suitcase of just all heels, just like 1,000 pairs of heels, a whole giant ass suitcase. And I was like, woman after my own heart. Yes, absolutely. And then we see how we get the bus. You know, Felicia gets us the bus, and the little performance of how he kind of gets mom to loan the money because maybe he'll get out of this phase that he's in. But then jump to mom's helping him pack, and she's helping him pack these crazy dresses and outfits. And like, he comes on the bus and complains about how he shouldn't let his mom shop for him. And I'm like, so she wants you out of this phase, but she's absolutely buying you dresses. And I just thought that was so cute and clever as well.
Yeah, I would say that Adam / Felicia is definitely like the third wheel. I think there's 3 leads here, but to me, Felicia feels the least defined because it feels for a lot of the movie like a one-note character, like just I am very flamboyant and over the top, and I want all the attention, which is I've met people like that. I get it. But for most of the movie, it's that way. And then there's this sort of like, okay, we have to have this scene where they go to a place where they run into people that are not okay with their lifestyle, and one character has to get their ass kicked like that. Okay, we're adding some morality into the story. And I found myself thinking today, a couple days after watching, I felt like Felicia didn't get a full story arc, because I'm like, by the end, has he or she changed at all? The only thing that gave me a bit of hope, because I was like conflicted in my head, was after that, they do the comedic thing of, oh, you can't talk, and Felicia's head is bandaged and all that. But I think where it plays out is when she is talking to Mitzi's son
Mm-hmm.
and expecting the son to be full of hate and have stereotypes about the lifestyle. And when the son's like, "Come play with my Legos," like, "Yeah, we're all good. My dad has a boyfriend, doesn't have a boyfriend, whatever. My mom used to have a girlfriend. You want to play Legos?" I think that's the payoff for the Felicia character, but I think there could have been a little more depth throughout.
I don't see Felicia as one note though. I agree. I agree that you could get more growth. Absolutely. I think, you like you said, it's very subtle at the end, but I think it's implied that it's supposed to be there. I think you could get more. What I think we're supposed to see with these three characters is three people in very different phases of their own, not only drag performances, but sexual identity and how that has evolved over the course of their lives, right? Bernadette is the old queen, right? She's the classic diva. She has had sexual reassignment surgery. She has, gender affirming surgery. And this is at an age where that's not as common and it's very expensive and very hard to do. But she is moving through the world with what is both beautiful and hard earned confidence, right?
Yeah.
Like, I am exactly who the fuck I am. And I am dealing with aging and the loss of my partner. And I'm devastated, but I am also exactly who I am. I'm not going to compromise that. And I am both physically and mentally able to defend that identity. She's literally a fucking queen, right? But you hear and understand that came from some hard things, hard lessons that she had to learn. And that, I think, takes us to Adam or Felicia, who is kind of that young arrogant queen that is very much its own stereotype, and who just like you said, needs all the attention, wants to be the most flamboyant, loud, boisterous person in the room, but is unaware of the danger. Not unaware, but maybe wants to ignore the danger that comes with that behavior, because he makes some really terrible choices here that end up getting him beat up, like you
It
said.
felt strange to me. Not strange as I don't know what the right word is for it, but for a second it took me out of the film. I was like, how seriously am I supposed to be taking this? Because they have the first time that they go out, they get off the bus in a new town, and they go, two of the
It
drag performers go
escalates,
out,
yeah, over the
and they
different
go out,
business.
and there's almost this comedic moment of everyone in the bar being quiet, looking at them. This woman comes out of the crowd and insults them, and Bernadette turns around and insults her back, and then the crowd is on their side, and there's this fun comedic moment of them hanging out and each doing
Right.
their own thing, and Bernadette
And
going
Bernadette
shot
drinking
for
her
shot.
under the table. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it plays out really humorously, and I went, okay, so this is starting to feel, and I don't know that this comparison is going to land, but I was like, this feels like a Pee-wee's Big Adventure, of like, there's these romps and escapades going on from place to place. And I thought that was the kind of movie I was in for, until we get to that next place. And that's where we get the dark hearted, like, violence against these people, purely because of their lifestyle. So I think
I think you're
tricky.
I think you're supposed to ease into that. And I think the last character here that we deal with is, of course, Mitzi, or, basically he's contending with a very different challenge than they are, right? He's kind of middle-aged queen, quote unquote, and he wants to be a father. He's actually excited about that, but he's very nervous about that. And he has a wife. We don't know a lot about it throughout most of it, but then you end up seeing it, and it's just the most wholesome, beautiful fucking thing you've ever seen. And I think that is such a great upending of what we expect, right? It's very easy to expect that to be traumatic, but you get this very wholesome family unit that supports each other for exactly who they are. And I think that's the thing, circling back, that teaches Adam or Felicia that you can be accepted and be exactly who you are. But what he's learning from Bernadette is you also have to be smart, and you also have to be careful. And so I think this trip teaches all of them a lot in different ways throughout the story. But I think you're eased into your point of, like, you see some homophobia, you see some mistreatment on the side of the road, and the way that their bus gets tagged. And, this is a very 90s moment, the way their bus is tagged, right? They tell these AIDS fuckers to go home. It's incredibly fucked up. It is a terrifying time to be in this community. And it is a hateful time for anybody that doesn't understand it. And I loved the line that Hugo Weaving says, where he's like, no matter how tough I think I'm getting, because again, I think he's in that mid transition kind of character role. So no matter how tough I think I'm getting, it still really hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're supposed to sit with that. You're supposed to feel all this joy and beauty and pomp and circumstance of this story. But I think you're supposed to remember that there are some real challenges here for these folks and that they are their own safe haven. And the people who accept them, like Bob and others, are their safe haven.
Yeah, those characters that come into the story that function in that way for them between Bob, and I like the slow build there with Bob. That is a really
Mm-hmm.
well told story
Yeah.
of, oh, it turns out he's a fan of drag queens. Didn't see that coming really based on his lifestyle and whatnot. And then how that plays out. I think
Well, he's a fan of strippers, let's be
I was
real.
gonna say,
And then he sees
Bob's
how that translates.
yeah, Bob's wife is probably, out of all the things in this, the most problematic part of this film in
She
2026. Like,
super is. They even refer to her as a mail order bride. Like it's real.
and
It's
the accent she's doing, like, it's tricky. Do you want my worst fact of the day up front right here?
Yep, hit us. Let's
Worst
do
fact of the day from IMDb is that this is that actress's acting debut, Julia Cortez, and the reason that that's not that interesting is Julia literally had one other role after this. So a debut doesn't mean much. Do you know what role it was?
No, what?
When you were a kid, did you ever watch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
Fuck yeah, I did.
Do you remember that when there was the TV show and they finally made a movie, did you pick up on the fact that they recast Rita Repulsa?
Oh God, I wouldn't remember that now. But
Okay,
maybe.
I didn't realize it either, and then I was like, oh yeah, I do remember her looking different in the movie. That is Julia Cortez's second role. So she got to play this ping pong loving athlete as well as
Athlete. What a kind.
Hey, it takes
description.
physical. Okay, I'm not going to go into the details here, but muscles are
I
involved.
kind of wanna. I have so many. I will do and do not want to go into the details because I have so many questions. Anyway, wow, what a role! Is that the least interesting? Because now it feels pretty interesting.
I mean, what it builds on, yeah, but to say, oh, it's her debut role when she only had 2 roles is not that interesting of a fact.
100%. Hard agree. Well, she is, I agree with you, the most problematic. I think the other problematic piece that I kind of want to get out of the way, because I think it's, again, mostly I think this is about joy and acceptance. I think that when they, as you said, when they go further into the outback is where they encounter these folks that do not accept them. And I just want to spend a second. We did talk about it, but I want to spend a second talking about the people who, as is somewhat typical in these situations, are attracted to them. Like we have to see, like Felicia walks out there in her Sunday best. Girl is dressed to the nines and being stupid as fuck, but going to have a beer with these people. And, douchebag McGee, who comes after her later, is hitting on her to start. He wants to show her around and obviously sees her as attractive. Can't tell right away that maybe she's not all that he expects. And the thing that gives it away is his very muscular arm with, arm hair. And then they just attack her. And
because that's the logical thing to do. That's just, ugh. It grosses me out that people exist like that.
It does. And I think that I just wanted to rant for 2 seconds around you're mad at yourself. You're mad at yourself that you got quote unquote tricked is what you've decided, instead of looking at, I just found this person beautiful and that's great. And I should think that this person is beautiful and there's nothing wrong with that. Instead, you are judging yourself and you're angry at yourself, and your own fragile masculinity means you have to attack this person. And the thing that I think that tells me that Felicia learns so much from this, even though we don't spend a ton of time on it, is of course she's sobbing at the end, as she should, but the terror in that moment. I mean, that thank God for Bob showing up and Bernadette showing up to stall the actual abuse that we could see potentially coming there. I'm glad, by the way, that the film doesn't go there, but implies that it could have happened, because I think it's important for us to not, whitewash or sugarcoat these things. But I like that she gets saved so that this lesson doesn't have to be as hard of a lesson for her, even though it hurts very bad. as it was for probably somebody like Bernadette. That's what's implied
Yeah,
here is
there's a
like,
darker version of this movie where, they find her in the hospital the next day, and that's
yes,
how it plays out. One thing, I think you nailed everything on the head right there, of like the message of what this is getting across, and thankfully she has her friends. And in while I'm saying that, if we're getting genders wrong, I completely apologize, y'all. I'm saying she for a lot of the characters, and I
she
don't want,
was in her drag. She
yeah.
is a she
Okay.
at that time. Also, they refer to each other as girls throughout.
Okay.
So
Just
I
making
want to be
sure.
clear. I think that that's safe. You can correct us if we're wrong. Generally, like they are referring to each other this way, and she was in drag at the time.
Okay.
So
Okay. One thing that I do not enjoy about that sequence from a movie like standpoint, I don't like that when Bob and Bernadette show up, Bernadette kind of just knocks the big dude down with like two nut shots. It's not that I hate like
you wanted a full blown like V
I
for
wanted
Vendetta
to like
moment
with
out of
how tough you pointed out earlier that like Bernadette is tough, and when
tough bitch. Love her.
Felicia calls her Ralph in that really obnoxious voice, just the way she said Ralph, like it's funny, but like that is a trigger, right? And
Yeah,
Bernadette goes back to
valid.
the hotel room and whoops Felicia's ass, like just kicks her ass.
Well, let's be clear here about again, we're trying to be careful with genders and things like that. Ralph is a dead name. Bernadette is different than the others here. Bernadette has transitioned.
Yeah,
Let's be clear. That's why this is a T.
yeah, no, I
Right?
understand why
No, I'm
Ralph
just
is.
for the audience.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like Bernadette is more sensitive to the Ralph name because that is a
Hmm.
dead name and you don't use that. She's
Yeah.
Bernadette all the time is the point.
Yeah, but we've established at this point that Bernadette's pretty fucking tough, like can
Bad bitch.
go. And I would have like honestly, I would have been fine with it's there's something about the way it's shot where they're shooting it from behind the big tall guy and Bernadette just kind of walks toward him, but they're like 15 feet from the camera and we just see knee twice and the guy falls over. It's not super well shot. I don't know
I
if
don't think
an
the
angle would have
angle is good
changed.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but I
agree. I
could
agree.
honestly with how tough we know Bernadette is, I feel like it would have been more telling for Bernadette to take a punch, like one punch from the guy, and like turn
Mm.
around and kick his ass. Like that should show that this is the tough person we've been seeing, not just I won because it's a nut shot, and also this guy, like guys get up from nut shots. That's not gonna end the fight. It's strange to me, but
Well, I also think like I mean this is going like hard in the paint here, but I wonder how much of that is like a little bit symbolic because she has transitioned, right? She's like, fuck you. And she's going to like take advantage of this weakness as she sees it of this man and give him a nut shot. I think I agree with you. The angle is bad,
yeah.
right? Because she's walking in and you get this great entrance from her and you want that angle. But when she actually attacks him back, I think that it would have been more intriguing, more interesting if she had, I agree. I wanted her to punch him. I don't think that fits her at this stage in her life, though. Like, it's going to mess up her manicure. Let's be real. Like,
Can I throw out one more thing that I feel like I would have added to this film if I were directing that I think is a
yeah.
missed opportunity? How do you feel about the ending where we kind of see, Felicia and Mitzi go off, do their thing? We see how their story ends. How do you feel about leaving Bernadette with Bob at the hotel? They kind of just say their goodbyes and it's just, hey, I'm going to stay here. I have to give this a chance. I kind of expected before we got to the credits that we would see a scene of how she and Bob are like living to let us know how that decision went. And that's where we leave Bernadette's story is just, I'm going to try this out. I'll see you guys later. Like, do you feel like we needed that scene or were you okay with it being open-ended?
I think it was okay with being open-ended. And maybe this is the secret, a secret even from me, optimist in me, because the way I read it is Bob's on board. Like, I think that the thing that happened behind the door, right, is like an affirmation of he's down, she's down, let's do this. And I think it's supposed to be this incredible act of bravery on her part. Because again, she basically had what accounts to like a little twink boyfriend, partner who died, who, yes, it was very sad and it was hard for her, but wasn't a serious, probably long-term relationship. It wasn't a true partnership and somebody who saw and respected her in the same way that she probably deserves. And I think what we see is on a smaller scale, Bob, in the little ways we can see it in a short timetable, is proving that. at multiple occasions that he can be there for her and be a partner, and he's open and he's open-minded and he respects her and loves her and admires her. So I think the implication cumulatively is that this is a partnership that can really work, and she's just being really brave by acknowledging that, because it's easy for her to, get a little man child that she can take care of and, entertain, so to speak. But this is a person who's actually going to potentially be a partner to her. I think that's exciting.
Yeah. I enjoy the way that plays out a lot. And it doesn't ever feel forced. It doesn't feel like, I feel
It
like for
doesn't. It feels
1994,
cute.
yeah, for 1994, I think it would have been very in the script. If this were an American film, I feel like there would have been an obvious moment of them talking and him being like, I don't care about what you are and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And I love you.
Let
It would
me
have been
announce
so
this,
on the nose. Whereas
Yeah.
through this, it's just very sweet and cute. We see them fall asleep like next to each other, but we don't know what happened. And it's just very sweet, bringing her
They
flowers
just
and
talked
stuff
the
like
night
that.
away,
Yeah.
and they like connected intimately. But it's also it's not only cute for that reason, but it's cute because, she like signals her wing woman, right? Of like, girl, go to bed. I need a minute with our guy Bob here. But then they're like spying, and it's all the like, silly, shit that is them trying to watch and not get caught. And the whole thing is just so cute. And it is arguably heteronormative in that these people from a different community that is completely equal and valid to a heterosexual relationship get this meet cute and get this romantic moment and get this interaction that are in a million other rom-coms, and I just love that moment for these people, and it should be normalized and celebrated. And I think it's really cute here how it plays out.
That moment is cute, and what leads up to it, I believe, if my timing is right, like I said, first watch, y'all. But when they do the entire performance around the bonfire with the other locals that they just sort of run into, I love how that plays out, because I think I'm trying to remember, is that before or after Felicia is attacked? I think it's before,
That's
unfortunately.
That's a great
Yeah,
question.
because
I'm
it's
trying
when
to
they're
remember as well.
stranded in the desert, and then that random dude Alan finds them,
Yes, because
and then
then
they
the
go to
homophobic people run off, and then,
right.
well, it's the
Yes.
Aboriginal Australians who show up, and they go to a corroboree, and
Say that again.
that's corroboree. It's like
One more time.
it's just
You said
we're
it
not.
was perfect. I was just shocked. A
I
corroboree.
mean, corroboree. It's just and a gathering of the Aboriginal people in Australia. Whatever. Anyways, it's beautiful how
Word of
they
the day.
bond.
Okay.
And they basically, get to celebrate each other's cultures. Because I love that they are watching out of drag. They're watching this happen, and they're like, I guess it's our turn. And they deliver in full drag. And then they also get someone to join them. And it could very easily be this moment of additional homophobia, or at least otherness, right? Of like, we don't know what this is about. We're going to avoid it. And instead, it's these folks who are indigenous and these people who are completely other to this community coming together in a very beautiful communal way. And that's one of my favorite scenes. I love that one.
Yeah, I love how they work in like the didgeridoo and the chanting and the
Yeah.
drums, along with like the more like the song that they're playing on the stereo or whatever. Sinners, if you're listening, you owe a little bit. I thought we were going Sinners territory. I was like, everybody's gonna join. There's gonna be a big fire. Like I was getting very big vibes of that scene. But anyway,
it's such a beautiful moment, and I love that you see that as a place of acceptance for them, and I think that is absolutely needed for these other moments wherein they're really not accepted, and it's really important. The one thing I will say too is, like, I said out loud multiple times, I was like, this is so fucking wholesome. I think like there's so many moments that are so wholesome in this, for, again, like you said, I mean, it's kind of ahead of its time, This isn't your typical, delivery of this type of story, and it's not going to always land. And I just love that. I think it lands here kind of throughout.
Did this come out the same year as The Birdcage? Was it 94 for both?
It's 94.
And 95 maybe
for this, 95, maybe 90. No,
but I think it's just, all I was going to say was, to your point, it feels like it's making the same point of being gay, being bi, being trans, whatever it might be, is not a single archetype this means who you are, right?
Mm-mm.
We talked about in the Birdcage, like the Robin Williams character is completely different from the Nathan Lane. And I think in this, having Bernadette be almost like, I don't want to call it a voice of reason because I don't think it's like logical, but tampering down these two drag queens and is just like, chill the fuck out. We're not listening to ABBA, all this stuff. It's just interesting to see all these dynamics where I feel like it could have very much just become a parody in some way if they had treated it differently.
I agree. And I think that's just because, there a lot of the perceptions of communities, any community, by the way, not just a LGBTQIA plus community, cultures, races, etc. It's just we land on so many stereotypes of these folks. And at the end of the day, we are more similar than we are different. And at the end of the day, we are just humans going through the same human experience. And a lot of times those things, wants, desires, goals are correlative. We all want the same things. And I love that you get to see all the facets of how that can appear. Nobody is one dimensional here. Everybody has a different background. Everybody is a different version, as they should be able to be. You would never look at a heterosexual person who has, just lots of dimensions, lots of personality, a lot of interests, and go, well, that doesn't fit. That doesn't make sense for you. You wouldn't say, oh, that's to this or that's to that. On the whole, this is broad strokes. We put people who are other than us so often in boxes that we limit their ability to break the mold. And I love that we have watched several movies this month that I think on the whole are doing that. People are breaking the mold and just showing how people are fucking people.
Yeah. And we've talked about, I think we talked a couple weeks ago about just exposure. Like the more that you get out there and live life and meet different people, the less you are to be afraid or offended or whatever it might be. And I think to that exact point, the town that they filmed the sequence where Felicia gets beat up, like this was known as that type of town. It was very intentional. They placed it here because it was a very straight lace, like by the book. I don't know about religion, but I assume, biblical type town.
Yeah.
I read it as Broken Hill, but maybe that's the real life name of the town. Broken Hill might be what it's called in this. But to that point, they now host a pride parade every year, like a whole festival and a full parade. Part of it is probably the need for tourism, but I like to think that another part of it is just people came around to it of like, oh, now that we've had these actors come and show us this and we've seen this portrayed on the screen and hopefully been, experienced things that are not like our day to day, we're more accepting of it and we actually celebrate it. I think that's great.
I think like you said, it's exposure. It's just experiencing different things. I mean, I have been an ally since I was a bebe, I don't judge people based on their whatevers. It does not mean that I was perfect by any means, but I just mean I have always thought that everyone is equal. I've never had a problem with, communities of various types. However, I remember when I very first saw drag when I was very young, I was like, what the fuck is that? Not in a bad way, but just I don't get it. What is the point? I don't understand. And when you go experience it in real life or anything, insert cultural thing here, it's just that exposure. It's just that experience. And you start to understand and you start to appreciate it. Even if you didn't go in with a bias, even if you didn't go in with hate, there are so many things that we just don't appreciate until we experience them. And I just think this is such a great example of that, of how the people in this film start to appreciate not only each other, but also potentially themselves. You see Hugo Weaving's character accept himself even more because of the way that his son accepts him. Yep. And that's just beautiful. That's incredible. Okay, so all that to say, what is your golden garnish / rating of this film?
Oof, I didn't actually think of one for this.
I love when I hit you with an unexpected rating that we do every single time. It's my favorite.
There's a lot to prep now. I'm like, okay, I have to come up with a cold open. We got to have the drink. I got to have some fat. And that one slips through the cracks each time. On the spot.
A gut check is the best. A gut check is the best anyway.
On the spot, I'm going to say Australia did. I think the country of Australia was the golden garnish of this film because I think the setting plays a very pivotal part in this. We didn't talk about, the images in this, but I think there are some really great sweeping shots of the outback and just the bus in the middle of nowhere and things.
And Felicia gets her moment, climbs the mountain on the rock and the rock
shot,
and the whole
last
thing.
Big shot there,
yes.
But I think that the people of Australia and like the different characters that they get to inhabit throughout this in the different towns, stereotypical or not. So I think I'm going to go that route. I might runner up would be the writer director, because I think the script on this, aside from,
Okay.
like I said, the first 20 minutes is pretty tight, but I think for its time, it's incredible script wise.
I hard agree. So what's your rating?
Um, on a personal, like for me personally, I'd say like a 7.5. Like it's still really good, but I don't know that I'm going to run back to see this. But
Okay.
I understand people who have a much more personal connection that I do to this, that it would give it a 10 or a 9. So I think
Mm-hmm.
for me, that first 20 minutes is rough to get through. The rest of the movie is very good. But yeah, I'd say like 7.5.
Okay, well, not to steal yours, but I'm going to have to agree on the Golden Garnish Award because I do think I was thinking that throughout, to be fair, of just I feel like this film at that time only comes out in Australia, and
Yeah.
only is successful because of the way that this was produced and the people who produced it and the utter acceptance of the people playing the roles. Like, again, we just have to acknowledge the ways these people commit to the bit and how different this is than other characters they've played. So I agree. I think it's very well done, but I would say it also is well balanced with the realities of the hard parts of this community without being in the mud. I was kind of watching something, and I'll spend a minute here because we're closing out the month. I was watching something the other day about how pride can be hard because it can feel like forced pride, right? There are a lot of folks who struggle with either their identity or their acceptance or the way the community has treated them, and that the experience of their own sexual identity is not always joyful. And pride is about joy. And that then can mean that this month is a bit alienating and it doesn't acknowledge the hardships sometimes of what it means to be a member of this community. And what I like about this film is that it shows us and makes us experience some of the hard parts so we don't pretend that that doesn't exist, that there
Yeah.
aren't experiences that are hard and that we have to be aware of and protect against and advocate against. But it also gives us the joy. I think both are deeply important. So I would say I would give this like a 9.
Wow.
I think
Okay.
I
I
think it's
get
a
that.
great.
Like I said, I think
Yeah.
it's a great message. I think the characters are incredible. For me, the script holds it back in a couple places. I will keep this very brief. My only message, and I don't think these people listen to the podcast, thankfully, but if there is for some reason somebody out there that's like looking at Pride Month and you're one of those ignorant fuckers that's like, well, we don't have like a straight people month. We're proud
Oh,
of
fuck
ourselves,
off.
but I would ask you, when you go to a 5-year-old's birthday party, do you get mad that people don't have like a birthday cake and put candles on it and bring you like wrapped on your birthday? You have no fucking reason, because you don't share that person. You're not where that person is in their life. Pride Month exists for a
Yeah.
very specific reason for these people. So just understand that you're at a different spot in your life and you're a
Yep.
different type of person, and shut the fuck up.
Hard agree. Shut the fuck up. And also apply that to a bazillion other months
Yeah.
and celebrations that have nothing to do with you and don't hurt you at all.
Yep.
So you'll be fine. All right. Well, all that to say, happy fucking Pride. We love you. If that is not clear, we support you. And we also love your art. I have deeply enjoyed this month. This has been really cool to appreciate some of the art that has come out of this community and the inspiration that it gives. So thank you for joining us.
For sure.
In the meantime, because we have no idea what next month's going to be, stand by.
In the meantime, follow us on our socials. We drink and we watch things on Instagram. Leave us some comments, send us some DMs. We will read them on the pod.
We sure will. All right. For now, though, go have a drink and watch a thing. Cheers.
Cheers.